Welcome back to another episode of Chatting Cinema. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Uh, I had fun. I had fun with it. I enjoyed it. Good movie.
It's good.
It's good.
There's look, it is what it is.
Yeah.
I went into it expecting what it was, and I feel like I got even more out of it than what I was expecting. It's really fun. There's as dumb as this sounds, there's a level of reverence being displayed for the Sonic lore that doesn't need to be there, but is and is appreciated. And I think that, that's one of the reasons that this burgeoning franchise has been successful because the people making it really love this goofy hedgehog character. Like they love this world, and I think that it shows in the film. There's stuff like we've all talked about, the three of us have talked about off camera, that Jim Carrey is doing entirely too much. Sometimes it works. I think sometimes it doesn't. I don't know if there's like a script for some of the jokes that don't land that he makes, or if it's just him doing it on set. But I think that a lot of the film's problems stem from Robotnik, or some of the human characters like cutting away from the Sonic action. But I think the sequel was an improvement on the first one, which is already a fun movie. But I think that all of that improvement comes from the fact that they included a couple more great Sonic characters like Tails and Knuckles integrate right into this universe that they built and really fit well and feel very natural. And that was the focus for most of the film, was Sonic and Tails and Knuckles and the quest for the Chaos Emerald. So I think that that's where this film really succeeded, where maybe the first one stumbled a bit, was focusing on the Sonic story.
Yeah. And we wanted to talk a little bit about it today because there is a discourse right now, of course, on the Twitter sphere and a little bit on YouTube, that this movie was like just made for kids. It didn't work, didn't respect Sonic, blah, 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 blah. And I would venture to say that this movie is darker than the first in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And there were a few scenes in particular. I don't know if we want to get into spoilers, but a few scenes in particular that I thought were like, yikes. I don't know if, that was made for kids.
Right.
And so they had those moments. And ultimately the final product is something that does work for adults too. I don't
Yeah.
understand that discourse
Yeah,
personally.
I mean, I think at our showing, it was a pretty even mix of like kids that were brought by their parents, and then like the three of us went, and like there was a couple groups of people around our age, just because like we grew up with Sonic. I mean, I grew up watching Sonic X on 4Kids TV and playing Sonic Heroes on the PS2. Like it's part of our childhood, and it's cool to see these movies work really well because they're not trying to do too much. I think that's what I appreciate about both movies so much, is that it's not trying to set up some mega universe. It's not trying to do a dark and gritty, edgy take on it. It's just presenting us a good Sonic story. And the reason why I like the sequel more, like Flynn touched on, is Tails and Knuckles being there, and they nailed both of those characters. And they fit right in with Sonic. Designs look great for all three of them, except for the behind the scenes picture, which is Knuckles' head floating. It's horrifying.
They
But
should have used that in the final film.
Definitely.
I really think that these movies work because they understand what they need to do. They're not trying to prove to anybody that video game movies can be cinema and Oscar quality. They're trying to make fun, entertaining movies. And in our theater, everybody was cracking up for pretty much the whole thing, having a good time,
Yeah.
enjoying it. And there was really great action scenes, and it almost felt like pulled right out of a Sonic game.
Yeah.
Like just especially that last temple where like this was just a fun experience. And I think they really balanced it well, of like making a movie but taking the elements from where it comes from, because with video game movies, you're always, it's just like movies made based off of books or based off of whatever, like there's always going to be comparison to the source material. And I think this is a really great thing that doesn't hide the fact it's based off of a Sonic video game. It's embracing it when it needs to, but then also when it doesn't need to, it's kind of doing its own thing, and I like that.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
just
it's
to
an adaptation for a reason. So
Yeah, yeah. And to talk a little bit more about the video game adaptations in general, we saw Uncharted not too long ago, and we all had a pretty good time with it. But there are moments in that film, and especially in the promotional material, where I think you can tell like people like maybe Mark Wahlberg didn't have such a great time or a huge respect for
Yeah.
the Uncharted lore before they signed on to the movie. But with a movie like Sonic, both films now, you can tell that it's created and crafted with love for the
Yeah.
character, and for his lore. So it's like, I don't know. I don't know how you can't have a good time with these movies because they are made for the fans.
Yeah, and I think that the people making this new wave of Sonic movie, and this is something that we've sort of touched on in this episode, sort of danced around it, is like they understand that Sonic is a 90s character, and so a lot of the people where Sonic had like a really big impact on their childhood are a bit older, but they're also making movies with children in mind. So I think that they really strike. It's a difficult balance to make something with children in mind that can also appeal to people who kind of grew up with a franchise. And I think that that's something that they're really succeeding at. And I always go to media made with children in mind, um, with kind of like high expectations because I am an adult that doesn't think children are idiots. And I think that a lot of people do, and a lot of people look down on children, but children are smart and perceptive. And like, you can disregard Sonic 2 all you want, but like, if I was a parent and I was looking at Sonic 2 versus Space Jam, I know which one I want my kid watching. Like that, this is, I think, something that, like Gianni, you were touching on. I think that treats kids with respect and like doesn't insult their intelligence, but still gives them like a fun character with a good story and a hopeful message, like about friendship and teamwork that I think really works. So I think that these movies could be an absolute disaster. And I think that they deserve all the credit in the world for not being that. Like they're not a train wreck by any means. They're competently made adventure movies, I think. So
I think kind of touching on your point too of like the people making it understand kids aren't idiots. That's something we preach all the time on our podcasts because kids media is just like a weird label that's like become stigma. Whereas some of the
yeah,
most creative and just fun and like unique and new feeling things have come through things made for kids in the last 20, 30 years. And this movie itself literally touches on that because one of the main themes throughout is Sonic being told he's too young to take on the huge responsibility of being a hero. And by the end of the movie, I think they do a really good job of kind of like balancing that where for kids, that's almost what they're told, where they're told they can't watch
yep,
this movie or this show because they can't handle it. And I think Sonic is turning out to be a really relatable character for being a blue hedgehog with super speed. Like,
yeah,
and like that, I give so much credit to Ben Schwartz for that because he loves this character, he loves this role. And like I saw a TikTok of him, he was driving in LA, he's half hanging out the window, arms flailing, pointing up at a Sonic billboard saying it's coming out soon, like he was freaking out. Like he just loves doing this, and I think that's another reason why these work so well is that again, we're throwing his name out there, Mark Wahlberg. You can leave Hollywood whenever you want, bro. I don't know if he wanted to be on the Uncharted set. I don't know if he played an Uncharted game to get ready. Tom Holland did. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Tom Holland's a
he
fan.
wanted to be Nate and then aged out of it. So that
Yeah.
was the problem. He wanted to be Nate. So
What do you mean I'm
Yeah.
old?
Yeah. But again, I think that there's a lot to look forward to with Sonic 3 because I'm assuming it's going to get announced soon because I think it's
Yeah.
been doing well enough to
it's
warrant it.
doing super well. Yeah.
And like as an April release, it's not really much expected, but I think it's been doing good for that. I'll have to check charts with Dan this week to see how it fares in week 2. But I think that kind of wraps up our thoughts on Sonic. I mean, you guys have any predictions for Sonic 3?
Oh
Like,
man, I just don't want
no,
to see Jim Carrey.
yeah. I don't want to give any spoilers, but like if Jim Carrey is gone, as bad a game as Sonic Boom is, like Lyric could be a fun villain. He's a snake man. Like I
Mhm.
wouldn't be surprised if they go that route because like I think that the conflict with Knuckles like being two CG characters in like a completely CG environment, I think really worked well. Like I never kind of questioned it or wavered. And I think a lot of that is because of Luke, like you said, Ben Schwartz and what he's bringing. And Idris Elba really brought it as Knuckles. Like that was
He did.
another person where you could tell like there was an actual love there and like an excitement about what he was doing. So, a villain like that, like a more CG villain, I think that Eggman has kind of run his course for a little bit right now because, you know, what do you do with him except for the exact same thing you did with him the last two movies?
Yeah.
So we'll see about that. Give me Big the Cat,
I want
Froggy,
Amy.
give me Chow's. Like, just dive deep. I feel like they're just gonna get more and more into like being fully Sonic. And I think that they really like their human characters and what they're bringing, but I think that they're going to like be involving them less and less in the plot as Sonic kind of finds his own tribe and whatnot. So I'm excited for it. I'm looking forward to, whenever it gets made, but I assume that it will be greenlit expeditiously. So
Yeah. I'm in the same boat. Bring it on. I'm excited for it. I love how these movies wear their hearts on their sleeves, and I think
yeah,
that's why they work so well.
yeah.
So yeah, I'm excited. But that wraps up our thoughts on Sonic 2. Go see it. And we'll catch you in the next one.